So hello everyone. Today we have Tanvi Mittal, who is the HR head of Wheeling Inc. She has been recognized on various prestigious platforms for her experience and the values that she brings to HR fraternity. One of the things that I would like to mention here is that she has been recognized as top 25 CHRO by HRAI. And needless to say, I know we would be having some exciting conversation with Tanvi today. So welcome Tanvi to WorkSmart Parts.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mary, for the beautiful introduction.
So Tanvi, before we begin, right, I'm sure people would be more curious about knowing you, as an individual. So why don't we begin with your quick introduction?
Yeah, sure. So yes, as Mary says, Tanvi, and I'm having almost 15 years of work experience, and my total experience is with HR fraternity with the IT domain. I'm SPHRI certified. I'm a certified POSH trainer. This is my passion, where I love to create awareness about this sexual harassment, right? And apart from that, Tanvi, yes, by profession I'm HR, but Tanvi is a person who really would like to love to learn new thing at every stage of the life. That's the my aim, that learning should never stop. So I use my punchline that fun should never stop in your life. Right?
Absolutely. No,
That's
absolutely.
Tanvi.
I think that's what is most important, Tanvi, nowadays, right? I mean, you just don't restrict yourself to one aspects, but you continue to explore and you continue to learn. Keeping that in mind, Tanvi, right? And needless to say, you have been managing performance for quite some time, right? How do you see performance management in today's dynamic workplace? As an example, now we have hybrid model. If you go like 4 5 years back, the environment was very different. Right? You would find all 100% attendance in office. You would find everyone in office. Nowadays, it's a hybrid model. So how do you see this, right? How would you define, kind of an effective performance management in today's environment or situation?
Okay, it's interesting, Mary, because yes, scenario has changed, era has changed. In fact, I'll say that generation has changed, right?
Right.
The things which we learn into my generation, it's totally changed because the purpose, the requirement from the employee and employer, both sides is required something new. The main change, which I believe is a positive, right? Earlier, when I started my career, I remember that performance management is only about the increment. That okay, the performance will get reviewed and I will get increment. That's the benchmark. Okay.
Right.
And now it's not only increment and it's review. It is the process to develop your career. So I always train my leaders that you have to work as a coach whenever you are sitting on the table of the performance management, where you are not just evaluating that what the person has done good or bad. Your role to find out the gap areas and fill those gap areas with the proper planning. So very important, the change which have been from shifted from the 4 years ago when you say in the hybrid and the today's generation, the today's generation also need a purpose.
Yeah.
Right? They will not sit in front of you only for the increment and just to get the feedback on their performance. They really would like to know, okay, where I need to improve. And most important, what's your plan to improve my performance?
Right.
Right. So that is the change. And second, now earlier that was a annual year process, right? Sometimes it's a twice in a year, but now it's a everyday process. If you really would like to make an effective performance management in the system, you need to bring a culture where your team is getting a review, performance feedback, or suggestion on the spot. They are not waiting for that time period. So these are the two big changes. And third, yes, now it's a tech-enabled, which were missing there, right? It's a requirement of the time. So these are the three shifts which I can observe, which has changed the total game plan.
No, absolutely. I think you brought a very good point here, right? I mean, keeping in mind the change that you see, even with the. I mean, I've recently learned about this terminology called, while I heard about Gen Z, I also understand that the beta part is also coming.
Yes.
So, which means it's a perspective that is getting changed, and that may also end up impacting performance. But yeah, absolutely right, Tanvi, right? It's no more about increments, but it's more about and that's a good point, right? I mean, when people ask about the purpose, they are being very focused.
Yes,
right? They
that's
want
true.
to, they want to ensure that they are delivering more values, and that's the good part of the generation, right? I mean, they just want to do something which makes sense to them.
Right. And this is the purpose of this, right? What we need in the organization, we need that our employees should be aligned with our goal. So basically, that's the reason they need to know the purpose, why they are existing here. That
Yeah.
was earlier also into the system, but that was not systematic. Now it's a systematic in terms of performance management system.
No, no,
Right?
absolutely right.
Yeah.
I mean, keeping this in mind, right? I mean, if I have to move on to the next, important point, which is more about the challenges that you see in performance management, right? I mean, the obstacles that you come across and how do you kind of handle it, right? I mean, keeping in mind both aspects. So you'll have like sort of the generation who is starting their career right now, with the current scenarios and dynamic scenarios, and the one who have been like dealing from the last 10, 15 years or 20 years, right? These are the two perspective now, that we are trying to solve it. So generally, what sort of challenges you come across in such scenarios?
Yeah. So actually, Maddie, in my company, we have a process that in this fab, we start this process, okay, for the
Right.
review and the performance. So I would like to share the recent example with discussion we were having, I think last week only. So it's not
Mm.
related to generation, but it's related
Yeah.
to challenge which we were facing
Right.
in the performance management.
Right.
That
Right.
was the biasness. Okay,
Mhm.
we were having the discussion and we just discussed that how we can remove that biasness,
Mhm.
although it's a tech enabled, although my KRAs and are also quantitative, where
Yeah.
leaders need to give a rating, but still
Mhm.
it depends on the leaders, right? If leader like X, the person will give more rating, and if they don't like Y, they'll give the less rating. So what's the
Yeah.
solution?
Uh,
And very interesting solution we that time realized that we can have, and I would like to share with all my audience that we have normalized our rating system. Entire rating system we have normalized. So how we have done, okay, so we have taken a decision that's okay, let's start the process where leaders will give the rating. We have given their parameters, they're 1 to 5. What's the meaning of 5 and 4? And you have to give rating, you have to do. Once we will get all the rating, okay, my Power BI team will sit there and they will normalize the rating so that if any leader is strict and a leader is like say liberal, that will
right.
not impact their biasness, will not impact to my employees. So this is
Right.
beautiful solution which we found out. In fact, we did some juggling into the calculation, some standard deviation, mean, mode, how to do. But this is very important, very, very
That's
important that remove the biasness. So this is which I would like to share with all of you, that if you are working on a rating system, think from the normalized point of view. And for example, you can have a discussion with some university, right? How
yeah.
they decide the cutoff and give the admissions.
Yeah.
They are very fair with all the people who are coming from the Bihar, who is coming from Rajasthan, and who are coming from Punjab.
Right.
This is
Right.
one thing. Second challenge, the challenge when we face is resistance.
Hmm.
Whenever you introduce something,
Right.
you will face resistance,
Yeah.
right? So especially from the management level. Because
Hmm.
down to the team, you can train, you can get the output whatever you want, but you will face the resistance from the manager. Here's my personal experience, which I observed, Mary, that we HRs always talk about our issues and our challenges, right? That leaders are not supporting, leaders are not supporting, leaders are not supporting. So what's the meaning of that? Have it ever tried to understand their pain area, why they are not supporting,
Yeah.
why they are resistance for the change, right?
Right.
So my working approach that whenever I'm introducing something into the performance management and some
Yeah.
change, I always make sure that my leaders are aligned with my thought.
Fantastic.
I have a discussion with them. I share my plan with purpose and how it can make their life easy.
Amazing.
That's very important. Otherwise, they will just throw out my idea into the dustbin, right? So that message has to be given. If they are aligned, I'm pretty much sure the rest of the team will get aligned because they have to actually manage. Execution part will be at their end,
Right.
not at my end, right? So these are the two things I think we can cover up if we can align the management with us.
Fantastic. No, I think it's a great thought, Tanvi, right? You brought a very good point here. I think understanding others' perspective and thereby solving the concerns or challenges, and with that can also help in terms of how we are basically, communicating, right, our message to the other person, and thereby making it more meaningful and
Right.
ensuring that they are fully aligned to, what you want to achieve. But yeah, I think it's a great perspective that you're bringing here, right? And on the similar note, right, have you heard of OKRs? Are you familiar with the OKR terms?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
So that talks about one of your thought, right, which is more about alignment, right? Bringing alignment across the company and ensuring that people use the same language. So, I mean, have you practiced it, or how do you see this adding more value to the organizations?
I must say that it's really a great method, and I have attended 2, 3 webinars and seminar last week, and now I can see that people are more talking about OKR. There are the 2, 3 reasons, Maddie, here. We were discussing about first is the purpose. That
Hmm.
is very important
Yeah.
for the Gen Z. They
Yeah.
need purpose, right? And
Yes.
for
Yes.
the OKR is the only method which gives you a purpose and which tells you that if you're writing a code, how it is contributing in the success of the organization.
Right.
I don't know if you have observed the change in the era that people are more interested to work into the startups and
Yeah.
mid-level.
Yeah. Right.
Why? Because they need that purpose, right? In a big names in the ocean, you are a just drop. What are you
Yeah.
doing? Nobody knows. So OKR is the one thing because if you know the goal of your organization, which has been driven the downstairs of the departments and the team, so team knows that okay, what's my purpose? Why I'm doing this, right? Second, very important, when you say alignment,
Hmm.
definitely along with alignment, why I love OKR because instead of working into the different direction when my team is talking the same language
Yeah.
and working in the same direction, and
Yeah.
secondly, for every quarter, if they have 3 or 4 realistic KRAs
Hmm.
which are
Right.
adding up with my top level goal, it really
Right.
makes impact,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So these are the few reasons that I personally believe that OKR is the good method which should adopt in the organization. If you cannot adopt systematically, but you can start approach and think from that perspective to bring into the system.
Very good point, Tanvi. It's a very good point. I think I'm sure it's going to help a lot of people who listen to us, right? Because it's not about, achieving the perfect aspect of OKR, right? But it's all about practicing the important pillar of it, which is more about, as you referred, purpose, and then ensuring that there is a clear alignment towards purpose. Because then once you bring that to the table, communications, collaboration, right? And
Right.
ensuring that we are all focused towards the impact that matters most to the company, right? At least they'll start understanding, they'll start fixing a lot of
Right.
big problems. Anyway, you referred about the challenges, right, that people undergo. Keeping that in mind, Tanvi, right? I mean, I'm sure, right, you must have come across a lot of, HRIS tool, a lot of performance management tool, right? Specifically, as today's, topic is more about performance.
Right.
Uh, what is that, couple of things that you would like to see in any product or solution that can help you in driving performance better?
Okay, so you are asking my pain area basically, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Then
that
tell
is
me
good.
what's your pain area and you are looking into the software or the technology, how you can solve your those pain area, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
I'll
absolutely.
say, Mary, there's no doubt that currently the tools and system which we are using, they are really great. If we compare 4 years ago and when we were managing on Excel, we are juggling on Excel sheets,
Right, right.
sharing the review forms over the email, getting the review forms via email, and then checking a one-to-one line. So now
Yeah.
life has been easy, but still, I believe there are lots of improvement can be happen. I'm pretty much sure that at the back end, tech companies are doing, but still, what I feel that first of all, if we can something in the tool which can suggest our employees or our leader that what kind of certification or course can be done to fill up this gap into the performance. This is missing into the products, if you will say. Product will not suggest you that okay, you can
Absolutely,
go for this
absolutely.
certificate or for that certificate. This is one. Second, real-time feedback. So
Mm.
I have seen so many portals. I have took a demo, so you can set your process. Okay, quarterly you are able to give the feedbacks half yearly, annually, or monthly. But take a scenario where you are working with someone and you really like something and you just would like to give a feedback which should get recorded into the annual review system. That system I am not able to get, where I can appreciate, or I talk more about appreciate instead of penalty, right? Because my working style, I say, if you really would like to introduce something, then start to give people appreciation who are adopting instead of penalize those people who are not adopting, right? So
Right, absolutely right.
This brings the positivity, right? These are the two things which I believe. And second, if I don't know, it's my realistic expectation or not, but via this performance management system, via this tool, if I can have that, proactive sense that what's going on.
Yeah.
Right? Whether my team is aligned, my team is not aligned, are they aligned with my goals? You can say retainership, right? Which can help me for the retainership.
Yeah.
If I can get to know proactively those senses, might be that will be more helpful, because today's scenario, the major challenge to retain this Gen Z.
Yeah.
Right? They are getting so many options and they just snap a finger, they fluctuate from here to there. So if I can get these kind of things from the system, that would be really helpful. And I always say that my system should be not only evaluation, the purpose is development. So that's the reason I have given a coaching to my leaders that they need to work on this 9-box model, where we are talking about the performance and potential both simultaneously, because the major challenge after the review process and all the feedbacks, we don't know what I do with this rating.
Yeah.
It just shut down the system, close the file and move the next year. Or actually, I need to use this rating.
Yeah.
So post mechanism is more important whenever we are having this performance management process in the organization, right? So if we can get any software which can help me for the post impact, right? How to develop my team.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be
I think it's a great point that you're bringing here, Tanvi, right? I think that's a very valuable point, because I have also experienced that a lot of times, once the entire cycle is done, right? What happens? It is done, it is closed and put it in a box, right? And the next day we begin from where we left last time, right? So the process remains same. So it is like, oh, it's just part of a process. So I am supposed to do it. I've done it and I've moved on, right? I mean, that shouldn't be the case, right? We have learned something through the process, and how are we applying that learning to make it more effective and make it more better every time, right? I think
that's the reason we use a performance management system, right? We never use a performance review system.
Exactly.
Right? We are not using an appraisal system. We are using performance management. We need to manage your performance, which starts when you come into the organization at the time of hiring, and it remains in the system till you are in the system. So that is the entire cycle is a part of performance management.
I really liked the way you have very easily differentiated between performance review system and performance management system. It's a great definition, by the way, Tanvi, right? I mean, while there is a very thin line, but I think the way you have described it, I think it should help a lot of people understand the difference between these two systems. Because are you just doing a review, or you are also ensuring that while conducting a review, you are also continuing to manage it and improve it, right? On the same note, right, keeping these aspects in mind, right, you would find a lot of, HR leaders are coming and joining, and they are also, like, as you initially you started on the note of like a startup culture, right, that we are finding around us, right? What would be your advice to those leaders to continue to, manage performance? What approach they should be adopting so that, it can help the organization?
So Mary, a few things before I'll share any advice, right? I'll share that the questions which I get sometimes from my HR fellows, right? They say that, Tanvi, this is just a process, right? Management never support. They say this is the annual process which we need to complete, and we actually the end is we need to give the increment. How much increment we need to give? This is the purpose of this.
Yeah.
So first, very, very important, and it's not only performance management, Mary. I would like to say, as being an HR, it's very important that your thought is aligned with your organization's thought, your organization goal. You need to understand your business, right? And for that, it's very important that your management is aligned with your thought. So whenever you are introducing anything, do not take that leaders will not accept and the leaders will not support HR. Please remove that biasness from your mind. And leaders also would like to grow your organization.
Yeah.
So understand their pain area, and whenever you are providing any solution, take their suggestions also. Might be the system will be better. And I always say you are the people only you are facilitating and organizing and designing. Actually, execution has to be done at the other side. So they know the real challenging and real pain areas. You need to understand that. This is very, very important. Second, if leaders can do, if it, because it depends on the costing and all, then try to have the tech-enabled solution.
Yeah.
Which remove your biasness, right?
Yeah.
And yes, I would like to say if you can have more quantitative KRAs instead of a subjective, that
Great.
will remove the biasness into the system,
Right.
because when you give the rating, right, instead of just typing a message. And as being an HR, do not think that you are HR, play a role of marketing. Sometime HR needs to be a marketer to share their thoughts, to share their ideas to the another table. Okay, if you are strong and if you are confident about your ideas, your suggestion, it is a PMS performance management system in any another initiative, be a marketer for your initiative. If you are confident, then only you can make another people confident. So you don't think that you are HR and you can't do marketing. You have to do marketing. So
Great
that
point,
I will
Tanvi.
say.
That's a very good point, Tanvi. I'll tell you, right? A collaboration between
Yeah.
HR and marketing could go a long way, right? Because a lot of times what happens, we come up with a lot of process, we come up with policies. You referred about POSH, you are a POSH consultant, you understand the pain, in this area. And, I mean, it's just not about keeping the information in a document. It's more about taking them out, making it more meaningful for people, encouraging them to participate, encouraging them to understand. So I think it's a very valuable point that you've shared, and I really liked it. Specifically when you say, you also have to be a marketer, because it is just not about you knowing all the lessons of marketing, right? You don't need to know the nitty-gritty of marketing, but
Right.
understand how are you also, marketing yourself. I mean,
And yeah, sorry, I'm interrupting, but I would like to say, Maddie, one more thing here that, we are only talking about transparency. Are we actually keeping a transparency in the organization? That's very important, right? So,
absolutely.
in my organization, we have set up a culture that there's nothing transparent except salary. That is, yes, that's a confidential. Everything is transparent, else, right? Every policies, everything processes, because
Amazing.
actually we all have to work together. So
Fantastic.
if we cannot have trust on you, then you cannot have trust on employer. As simple as.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's a great point that you brought, and great that we are discussing on this subject, right? Because generally people think from a performance management standpoint. Okay, we need to think about 2, 3 areas only. That's it done, right? When that comes, when the cycle comes, they just jump onto it. They want to complete it. But I think in today's conversation, you brought some very amazing point, Tanvi. I'm glad that we could discuss on those aspects, and I could, speak to you and, kind of, gain your experience. I'm sure it's going to help a lot of leaders, right? And absolutely, needless to say, you are adding a lot of value to WeLink, right? And we would love to, catch up with you sometime in future as well, to see how exciting the journey looks like, in the future. And I'm sure you would continue to, as you are an explorer, you like to seek new things, learn new things. I'm sure you would be applying a lot of new things in the organization. So thank you so much for your time, Tanvi, and being part of our podcast. So
thank you, Maddie, for inviting me on your platform, and you give me opportunity to share my thoughts.
It's amazing, right? I mean, it's amazing. Specifically, I think we should be changing the title of our podcast to one of the statement that you mentioned, saying that there's a difference between performance review and performance management. People really need to learn this. So on this note, I'll be ending the podcast. But thank you so much for your time, Tanvi. It's great talking to you.
Thank you. Thanks.